We are still liking that. Hi, it's Todd at Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here, and today I'm back with Joergs Instant Legolas device, and this is the assisted bow version. You can charge it on the way forward where you're not usually doing work, and then it assists you on the way back, allowing you to pull a more powerful bow. Brilliant idea. Joerg sent me this device to look at it from a medieval point of view, and he asked me to do two things. The first is to see if I could make it in a medieval way, the way a medieval craftsman would have done with the right techniques, the right materials. And the other is then how it would fit into the medieval world. So I have to find out, first of all, how the assist functions, and if we can get that running properly, then that enlightens me, it explains to me how the rest of the unit would be used, and that will explain to me how it should be made. So first up, we're going to have a look at the assist system, and that is what this film is all about today. This is what I came up with. Let me show you its features. So this is the assist system that would go on the front of the bow, mounted about here. With this system here, it starts very powerfully and then gets weaker as you go forward. So I'll show you that in a minute. We'll unpack it, we'll have a look what's going on. But that turnaround is important because with this bow here, this little black and red, it starts not very powerful and it gets harder and harder and harder as you go back. But what that means in reality, of course, is that it is at its weakest. It is giving you the least assist right at the point where you're needing the most assist. And it's giving you the most assist here, right at the point where it's actually really easy to pull back and you don't need any assist anyway. And this is what we need to look at. So let's go and have a look, take this thing apart, and I'll show you what's going on. Now, after quite a lot of thinking, I decided that the perfect assist bow really was some form of compound bow. Well, this is a cheapy, fairly old modern one now. We've got sort of cams and cables doing all sorts of clever things here. It allows the designer to get a good, strong weight at the brace height. What compounds allow you to do is change the position of when the weight comes into the system. So you'll get an idea, even if you've never shot one from looking at my face, on this one. So I can draw back, and I can pull, and it's hard, getting harder, and then we have a lump. And now I can, yeah, there we go. I can go down to 2 fingers. Now then, watch me on the release. And then you saw that I could bring it down, and suddenly it snatched me. You can put those sort of positions anywhere you want with enough cleverness in a compound bow. But the problem with this is it doesn't fit with my parameters. It's so far from what the medieval mind was doing and the medieval craftsmen were conceiving of. It's just a cheat to me. So compound bows, out the window. But they had a few ways of achieving this kind of let-off. Just going to show you a couple of pictures now. This picture here, mid-14th century, of something called a springald. And it doesn't really show it very clearly, but these are not bow arms, they're torsion arms. So like a catapulta or a ballista, you know, Roman artillery. But what you've got here is a long, hard, straight arm that is not bending. That is not a bow. So they're familiar with that as a concept. Now here is another device that they were familiar with. You've got a long lever here and a cam. It's shown in the centre, but it would make more sense if it was eccentric. It's a rapid way of spanning very powerful crossbows, often used in siege. So this bit of kit here would be on the castle ramparts. People would run up with their bows, or loaders would run with the bows, put it in, wham, load the thing, hand it back. Next one, wham. So none of this messing about with the windlass that you may have seen on some of my other videos. Very rapid way of doing things. But of course, if you let go of that lever arm, it's going to go whacking around under the spring load of the bow here. They would have been familiar with that as a concept. So let's just have a look and unpack what we've got here. So we have got a lever arm, much like that arm, and then we've got a cam system. I'm just going to open up, much like that cam system there, and this crossbow spring, well, that's buried in here. So let's have a look. First thing, I'm going to undo a couple of screws here. Sharp-eyed amongst you will notice that they're Allen screws. They're modern. I haven't got round to fitting these up with medieval screws yet. They had them. They were expensive, but there were applications when they were absolutely used, and very much so on crossbows. You see them an awful lot on crossbows. When the time comes, I will swap these out for medieval ones. But for the moment, I'm prototyping. This is a proof of concept, so I don't want to spend my time making nuts and bolts. Until I've worked out if the thing even works, that's just a waste of life. Our beastie is apart, and this is the powerhouse at the centre of it. Now that spring is 15 mil by 15 mil at the centre, and then tapering down a little bit both directions towards the end here. So that is one hell of a chunky spring right at the centre of this thing. Then these arms here, just a little pin here that bears on the spring. So this acts, and that's where it pivots. So this acts as a cam system. I'm just going to lay the parts onto the outside of the casing here. That's where the arm goes. And of course you remember that there's this pin here. And here is our spring. Now as I push up in the centre, it rotates that arm around. The more I rotate that distance here gets smaller and smaller, and that is the relationship we're looking for with the spring. By the time you get here, there is no effective load. At that point here, that arm is under the most load from the spring. I fitted the medieval bow assist for the instant Legolas into a vise because there's a lot of forces going on. I'm going to pull it back. What I want is an assist fairly close here. There's obviously a bit of slack, but an assist weight at the beginning here, pretty high. Let's put a scale on it and we'll have a look what we've got. I'll just read the scale, trust me. Now, so we are now at 15 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds. Now that's actually pretty good for a bow. Now if we just keep going, but you are going to notice a problem fairly soon. So we're at 40, 50 pounds. So it's not doing quite what I want. There we go. 70. It's dropping off again now. So we're now going back to the 40s and the 50s. I'm just doing it slowly. Up. Now there is our problem. Look at that. It's unstable. It does one side and not the other. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. It worked brilliantly in my head, and I just didn't consider that sort of inherent instability of it. So what's happening, basically, it's trying to balance on a knife edge, really, is it will go one way, or it will go the other. One arm will dominate, one arm will dominate. But what it won't do is turn beautifully. It wasn't like that in my head, but here you go, that's engineering for you. Oh. We could turn this into a compound system. And I know, I said I wasn't going to do that. But there is a very simple compound system we could do. I've changed the string on this unit now to the most simple compound system that I could conceive of. I've left the rings at the end, but just imagine pulleys there. They could have done pulleys. This is a step beyond what I would want. So it goes from that locked fixed point all the way up to a pulley at there, back to a pulley at that end, and then back to locked off there. It's about as easy a compound system as you could get. The reason that I would grudgingly pursue a compound system, a very simple one, but a compound system for this, is that it would help to get rid of the instability, I think. I'm not certain until I tried it. But it would mean that you get a power reduction of, let's say, 2-to-1, so you need to up the size of the spring. And already we have a massive amount of load within this small system. And to make the spring twice as powerful, or possibly even more, because it wasn't like super amazing, it was only giving us, 15, 20 pounds. And so I'm feeling that my best push at this is not good enough. That's what I'm thinking. The perfect assist system is not this. I wanted it to be, it's not. Because really what you want is that as you're pushing forward, you have a bit of weight to overcome, or, a significant amount of weight to overcome, and then it drops right off, so your movement is easy. And then the stored battery, it gives that 40 pounds back for the last little bit that you need it when you are beginning to struggle. That's what I want. This doesn't do it. It's kind of, the thinking is kind of there. I understand what I'm trying to achieve. I haven't done it. But what scares me about this whole thing is there is so much power invested in the spring of this. And this isn't enough at the moment. The bow, the standard bow, is not it, because it's got very little weight at the brace height here. It's got very little pushback. So as you are drawing back, it assists you, but not a great deal. So that's not the answer either. exotic systems that are outside of my parameters, outside of my feeling about what's acceptable, well, yeah, they might help, but they're out. So if we can't get the assist system for the instant Legolas to work, we'll just stick with the instant Legolas. It's a brilliant idea and it works fantastically well. So we're just going to concentrate on that. So I, at the moment, can't see a way through this, but you know what? Let's hand it over to you. There is 500,000 of you out there, or whatever it is. Put your minds to it. So here's a challenge for you, because I haven't been able to do the assist part of it, so I'm going to hand it over to you. Look at my parameters, don't make it totally wacky and exotic, right? Try and stick within medieval concepts. Make little cardboard and matchstick and rubber band models. Try and make it work. Film it and talk about what you're doing, stick it on YouTube, put a link in the comments, and what we'll do is we will compile a video of all the best ideas that may solve the problem, and we'll have a little chat about that, and we'll do that at a later date. So that will give us all something to get our teeth into. But for the moment, I am going to concentrate on making Joerg's rather fantastic medieval instant Legolas in the medieval way. And that's what this exercise is all about. What was it? How did it fit into the medieval world? And for me, right now, the assist system does not fit into the medieval world. Thank you, and bye-bye. Oh, bloody hell, this thing's heavy. I think it might have another life as a bit of siege artillery, but that's another story, another day.